Okay, we are preparing to go live streamed. It's looking better so far than it did this afternoon. Yep, okay, looks like we're good to go. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. Sorry, 1 second. Have my YouTube display on as well. Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are so grateful to be living and working on the traditional homelands of the Shoshone Nation. Welcome to our evening session of public participation for the 2022 budget process. Today, we are going to be reviewing the current operating requests, capital budget requests, and Director Douglas will be taking us through a presentation. Prior to that, I would like to introduce Mayor Seekers, who will start us off with a few words.
Thank you. For those of you in Sechelt right now, you may not have power. I don't have power. We were looking at potentially postponing this session, but as it was advertised, we decided we would go ahead and hold this and then potentially hold another one later for those who weren't able to attend because they didn't have power or internet. So we're going to turn over to Director Douglas, and he's going to walk us through this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship and Carrie Ann. So this is the second presentation today. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I'll walk through. There isn't the intention today isn't really to dive deep into the budget. It's really a surface summary of what we're looking at as a 2022 provisional budget. When we meet on November 30th and December 1st, that's when we'll really start to dive into the budget and talk about items, and the committee of the whole will make recommendations to council. So tonight is really more of an overview, really high level, talk about several different things. So tonight we're going to go through the budget schedule from here going forward, the 2022 provisional budget book. We'll do a quick overview. The 2022 general operating fund overview, 2022 sewer operations, 2022 septage overview, and we're going to do a few minutes on capital. So I just wanted to start by going through the provisional budget book. We have this up on our website now. And I just wanted to quickly describe what's in the book and how it's laid out. So the start of the book has the 2019 to 2023 strategic plan. And following that, we have the 2022 general fund overview. We go through numerous pages, departments, 2022 provisional budget, and schedules of reserves. Then we jump into the sewer operations. Once again, with some reserve information there, the septage operations. Earlier this year, as part of the budget process, we talked with several of the community associations in the District of Sechelt. And so we've included 8 or 9 pages there of some of the discussion topics that we had. Then after you go through the community association pages, we have a section of new operating requests, and followed by the carryover projects from 2021. Then we have new budget capital requests for 2022. And there's kind of 2 parts to it. We have a part that's more dedicated to the engineering side. And then we have other capital that comes after that. And so in the book, not only do we have just a summary page, we have the details of each capital ask in behind on the page of their own. So there's quite a number of pages there to go over. And then at the very end, we have the 2022 Consolidated Provisional Budget. So where you can find this is on our webpage. And I have it here on the screen. So it's the District of Sechelt webpage, www.sechelt.ca/budget22-2022. And so we've just started to load the information that we've prepared to date. And as we prepare more information, we will continue to add to what is currently there. So we started the process off in September, October by staff preparing the 2022 provisional budget. We also started in July, August with a short questionnaire on our website. The results of that questionnaire were presented to Committee of the Whole on November 10th, 2021, not 2022. And so if you want to see the results of that, just once again, go to our webpage and pull up that meeting from November 10th, the agenda, and it's on there. And as I just mentioned, that we also held several community association meetings, and the discussion topics are here. So where do we go from here? On November 30th, December 1st, we'll be doing council deliberations, and that will be 2 full days of budget talks and going over the provisional budget and making recommendations to the committee, and the committee making recommendations to council. On December 13th, we're planning another public information session. Right now it's planned in Zoom, but as we get closer to that date, we'll discuss that a little more. And then on December 15th, we're aiming to provide a 5-year financial plan to be able to present to council for some meetings prior to the new year. So as we go forward here with the 2022 to 2026 5-year financial plan, it'll be developed using the following principles and guidelines. The financial plan will be of a 5-year period as per the community charter. The expenditures must not exceed funding sources, so the budget needs to balance. Work plans and budget requests support the goals and objectives of council, the official community plan, and any relevant issue-specific strategic plan where available. So that's kind of the basis of our 5-year financial plan. The 2023 to 2026 assumptions will include anywhere between a 0.5% to a 1% increase in user fees and permits just to represent growth in the community. The 2022 to 2026 5-year financial plan must be adopted prior to May 15th, 2022, and the tax rate bylaw must also be adopted prior to May 15th. So that's kind of how we're going forward, and yeah, our guidelines. So we're going to start with a little bit of discussion in the general operating fund. General operations consists of all these areas that are on the screen, anywhere from airport to engineering to financial services, parks, public works, RCMP. And so this is, our biggest, obviously our biggest cost area and our biggest need for taxation is in general operations. The other fund that we operate would be the sewer operating fund. So we kind of operate in 2 different two different operating funds, and this is what's housed in general. So just a few comments about what's included in the provisional budget to date. We have reoccurring grants that are included, and so that may be the gas tax, what people most commonly know as gas tax is included. Also, the small community grant that we get is also included. We have included our known or best estimates on inflationary or contractual increases. That would include things like hydro, natural gas, fuel, our labor contract, solid waste, and insurance. So, that's, once again, that's just kind of what we know today. As we go forward, yes, things we'll get to know more and more about some of these that we're estimating at this point. And as we get to know the true numbers, we will adjust the budget accordingly. Additionally, included in the budget is our travel and training opportunities for staff. In the past number of years, most of the either conferences or training that has happened is switched to virtual. And so in those 2 years, we budgeted appropriate. And as the economy opens and the more and more of our events are starting to happen in person, and so we've had to adjust budgets accordingly. We had an increase in full-time staff in 2021, and we previously budgeted 6 months of the salaries for those, and now the remaining 6 months is included. So that means we're capturing 100% of any new staff from 2021. Additionally, the gas tax grant that we have in our budget, we have it also transferred to a reserve to be held, to be spent. The gas tax money, as most people know, it is a restricted fund. It can only be used for certain projects, and so we put it in the reserve and hold it till those appropriate projects come up, and then we look at funding that. The other thing that we have included is the capital increase of 3% to taxation as part of our capital renewal. And once again, we transfer that 3% into a capital reserve to be spent out of the capital reserve. So, for this year, that looks like about $325,000 increase. So the total amount that we're now capturing for capital renewals is just over $1.3 million. A 1% tax increase for this year, when we start talking about percentages, equals $108,620. So a couple items that are not included in the budget yet at this point are new one-time operational items and or new ongoing operational items. These will go to the committee of the whole for consideration prior to being put into the budget. And the other thing that's not included is any increases to full-time staff from 2021 levels. So as we go through the book, or tonight we'll briefly discuss some of the additions that we're looking at. And of course, the capital projects are not included yet. Once again, they need the review of the committee before incorporating. So overall, the provisional budget includes best known information to date. We're budgeting at a similar level of service as 2021. Contribution to reserves at this point include the gas tax, grant of $507,000 and $1.3 million for capital replacement. And just going backwards in time here a little bit, property tax revenues have been increased in the last couple of years, 3.8% in 2020 without a additional capital contribution, and 9.7% in 2021, which included a 3% increase for capital renewal. So over the years, we see new growth in our residential and business class. Normally, when we talk about it here as non-market growth, it's about new construction. It's about seeing, how much value comes to the district of Sechelt in 1 year due to building of residential properties or commercial properties. And although we don't know exactly what that number will be this year yet, we've included increase of $50,000 in the budget to capture that eventual number. The last couple of years, it's been between 7.5% and 1%. So we're just being safe at saying 50,000 or 5% right now. The 2022 budget does not include any new operational requests, which are listed in their own section in the book. And each one has a business case after it. So so when you're reading the book, it's a good read or spot to pause and read. And the carryover projects for operations have not yet been included in the budget. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, there'd be a net zero effect on taxation. And number two, we don't really know what those numbers are going to look like yet because we're not through 2021. And we still have 2 months to spend to get those projects either completed or well underway. So the other big change that's included in the budget is our solid waste. In December, we're changing the way we do our solid waste pickup. We are increasing the service level here. So because it's happening in December, we have the full 12 months budgeted in 2022. And so we're moving to garbage pickup bi-weekly, recycle pickup bi-weekly, and organic pickup weekly. And as I indicated, that will start on the first Monday in December. And so we're contemplating that we'll have to see an increase to fees to help cover that cost. We're bringing in the elevated fees over a 2-year plan is what staff are going to recommend rather than bumping it all up in 1 year. We have been lucky that over the last couple of years, we have been able to put aside some operational reserves to help buffer this increased expense going forward for a few years. So we'd be looking at about a $27 increase in each of the next 2 years for solid waste. So starting off with a little more information about the general operating fund. We are starting off with a deficit of $803,000. And, we have been, we've had some motions of council in the past that has made us, have to make these budget adjustments this year. And one of those would be the RCMP. We have made a motion and request to increase the municipal side of the force by 1. And so that comes into effect this year in 2022. And so that's fully budgeted then in 2022. Staffing increases from 2021. Once again, that was approved from last year. We captured the first 6 months of salary for these staff members, and we're picking up the second half in 2022. Contracted services, we're showing a increase of about 105 grand, but the biggest change, and that's a net change because we've had some contracted services go up and some come down. And the biggest change here is a solid waste contract going from 2-stream of garbage pickup to a 3-stream garbage pickup. And so that's an increase right there of 302,000. So we've had some contracted services be reduced, but overall the net gain so far is 105,000. Training, we talked a little bit about training there. It's changing for us, so we're going to see a little bit of an increase there. Legal fees, we really try and budget this as close as possible, and so we're looking that we are needing a little bit more for 2022. However, on the other side, we have some revenues that are increased or are increasing. We have the $50,000 in new construction included so far. I'm hoping that number will go up a little bit. And we have a very active building industry right now in District of Sechelt, and so we've estimated that our building permit fees will increase by $75,000. So that's all good. So overall, we're looking at some revenues and expenses here for the general operating fund. So revenue at $16,296,000 and expenses at $17,099,000, leaving a deficit of $803,296. So for our purposes of discussion with council and for the public, we just remove amortization, as it's not a cash expense, it's more of an accounting treatment of asset. So jumping into the sewer operating, the sewer operating budget is showing a surplus of $542,000, of which the intention is to move those to capital reserves, and then they'll be spent out of capital reserves. And we've done some analysis, and to be able to do all the capital we want to do in sewer this year, we just need to bump that up a little bit to capture enough funds to do the capital that's being recommended. And then when we look through the operations here, we've had some contractual increases of $26,000. Training increases 81. We are taking on some new debt here in the sewer fund based on a capital project from 2021, which is a chemical shed is intended to be borrowed. So we've got interest and principal payments increase here. Hydro increase around 10,000. Contractual services. I'm suggesting that might be a wrong number, but 105. I'll review that. Again, insurance increase of $6,000, and we due to development, we're estimating new fees of $79,000 in the sewer area. And interest rates are down a little bit right now, so we're estimating to see a little bit of a decline in our investment income today or in 2022. So these are some of the things that we've had to deal with there in the sewer. So just a quick overview of the revenues and expenses here. We have revenues of $3.6 million and expenses of $3.1 million. leaving a surplus of 543,472. Once again, we've removed amortization. Septage. When we get to looking at the numbers for Septage, we're not showing any surplus or deficit. We have we transfer the net proceeds in Septage to an operating reserve just to cover off some of the future operational costs as we go forward, like dealing with the biosolids. But where we've seen some we've seen a little bit of the contractual increases of almost 8,000, hydro increases of 9,000. Our revenues there are not achieving what we thought we would be achieving there, so we've budgeted that downward quite a bit. And the insurance increase here, just a small amount, $208. So when we get to the looking at the numbers here, we've got revenues of 420,000, expenses of 269,000, transferring that difference into operating reserve, 150,624, leaves us zero surplus, zero deficit, and amortization is removed. So now we're going to go to some of the additional operating requests that staff are making of council this year. And although I did intend to go through these in detail, the book, this page is included in the budget book online. And in behind that is a description of all the items that staff are asking for, with good description, and there's justification included. And so staff are looking for $942,000 in new costs for 2022. And like I said, a lot of discussion will be held here during the 2 days, November 30th and December 1st, of which there'll be committee of the whole meetings. So we invite everybody who wants to attend to attend. It'll also be on Zoom, so you can attend in person or on Zoom. So yes, there are a few additional staff asks here, and so there's human resources assistant, deputy corporate officer, procurement coordinator, and two parks positions that are included. We've broken this out into kind of departmental areas. So the airport, there's just some regular maintenance that we like to do at the airport, with the clearing of brushing and runway painting. And one of the items that both staff and council feels important is the airport master plan. Now that we have a refurbished airport runway and an extended runway, it makes sense to keep moving forward with that valuable asset to the community. So I encourage everybody to go online and read up on the staff's asks for 2022. I wasn't intending to go into it too deep here tonight. So 2022 capital review, we've broken it out into two segments. One is what we're calling engineering's capital list for 2022, and then other capital for the remainder that wouldn't be handled from capital or from engineering. And so here from the engineering side, we're looking at asking for $6,064,000 for various projects. The projects range anywhere from building facility project work to roads, to drainage, parks, several parks related projects, and of course pavement and safety transportation project. And near the bottom there, we have the sewer projects included in here. And of course, at the very bottom, we have equipment replacements for 2022. So once again, all these projects have a sheet online that you can read through and learn what's in each one of these projects. And we'll have a good discussion again at our 2-day session. So the other part of the makeup of our capital this year is other capital. And here there's really two kind of streams, some replacement of the council chambers in the council room. The ones that are there are heavy and they're a little bit outdated. And then the other stream is centered around information technology with regards to, we'll be having a new council come in next year, and every 4 years we renew their technology when they come in. And so that's budgeted there. And then some IT replacements for 2022. And we're looking at a new fob system for Municipal Hall for access. And included here is just the funding sources for these projects. Once again, we're using, everything from taxation right through to reserves and development cost charges. So, we're using and grants where appropriate. So we're using, every avenue available to us. Borrowing as well. We've included that here. So we're using, all our avenues that we can to fund some of this capital. So this is my last slide, and it's basically inviting you, anybody watching, to come out to our community of whole meetings slated for this November 30th, 2021 and December 1st, 2021. 2 days of talking about numbers. So if that excites you and you want to learn more about what we're doing, that would be a great opportunity. So with that, I'll stop my sharing, and maybe we can see if there's any questions there.
Thank you, Director Douglas. And yes, we do have one question in our Q&A so far. With the residential growth happening throughout the coast and Seashelt having the sole septage receiving facility, why is septic revenue going down?
A good question. I think it is a cyclical thing. Most people, they drain their systems when they fail or when they become, full. And so in the past, maybe people had them scheduled more regular, but, it appears that, people are, I think waiting out until they have to clear out their septic system.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any new questions coming in through social media. We have not received any via email throughout this session this evening. Are there any questions on the floor, either from our online participants or our councillors in attendance this evening? Oh, we have a question from Councillor Toth.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Director Douglas, as I'm going through the budget book, I'm not seeing anywhere where we've captured the potential revenue for logging on the airport lands. Is that something to be determined still, or is there a placeholder in the budget book that I've just missed?
No, we don't know that. We have estimated values right now, and so we're not in the final version of the budget. It'll go in and it'll be basically a transfer to the airport reserve. So, there's no effect on taxation here yet. But as that proceeds, we'll get to know a more fine-tuned number, and that's what we'll put into the budget.
Okay, no other new questions at this time. There are currently 2 watching online, and we have one guest on the Zoom call with us. Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'll just jump in with a question for Carrie Ann. If somebody is watching on YouTube right now, how can they ask a question?
Oh, they can send an email to council@sechelt.ca or finance@sechelt.ca. They can post a question or a comment in the chat on our Facebook event or on our Facebook page. They can also go through our council calendar from sechelt.ca to join the Zoom meeting live if they'd like to ask a question verbally or join in the discussion here. We do have, thank you for that, Councillor McLean. I don't think we announced that at the beginning. I do see one more question in the Q&A on the Zoom here. I note that the $3 million child facility is carrying forward in the 2022 budget. Has the district submitted its grant application? Will it be made public? And do you have an estimate on when the grants will be announced?
Carrie Ann, would you like to handle that one?
Sure, I'd be happy to speak to that one. The deadline for that grant is actually coming up tomorrow, so we will be submitting that application by tomorrow afternoon. I don't know if we typically post the full applications for all of our grants online. That would be something I would have to defer to senior management on. The province is planning to announce the grant recipients by the new year, so I believe they're looking at January for that.
All right, thank you, Carrie Ann.
Okay, not seeing.
I'll jump in. Okay. One for Director Douglas. A large part of the increase this year is due to decisions made last year, and particularly the partial funding of new staff. Is that going to happen again this year, or are we looking at full year funding for the staff that are proposed?
So far, we've included the full cost in the staff asks, but as we move forward, that's something we can strategize with Committee of the Whole and Council.
And I guess we have more opportunity now that we've changed the budget timeline. Before we were getting it approved halfway through the year. So,
correct. Yeah, we're ahead of the cycle from last year by a number of months. But that doesn't mean we'd be able to put everybody in their seat January 1st either. So, certainly we'd be looking at that as we get closer to final adoption.
Okay, I'm not seeing any new inquiries on the floor. Oh, Councillor Talk, did you have one?
I do, mostly for the public's behalf. Looking at the very large increase in insurance costs and knowing that insurance goes up pretty much every year, how often does the District of Sechelt shop around for insurance options, or can we even shop around for insurance options?
Yes, we can. We do use Municipal Insurance Association, MIA, for some of our insurance needs, but not all of them. So we do have a number of plans. So we have, I think we have one for the airport. So that would be kind of a specialized plan. And then we have one for our buildings. So Yeah, those ones we like to shop around every 3 to 5 years. And yes, they are due to be looked at.
Okay, and another question through the Q&A. This goes back to the daycare grant application again. If the grant is awarded in January, do we anticipate construction would begin in 2022, and how long would it take to complete the project? So the timelines that are mandated by the province on this grant are, I believe, within a 2-year timeline to completion. So we would need to begin in 2022 and look to complete by 2024. Councillor McLean, is that a new hand for you?
Yeah, unless anyone else wants to jump in, I'm just filling time here. So I am going to ask Director Dillon a question that just more for the public good, like Councillor Toth mentioned. Given the recent rainfall events that we saw today, how is the district Sechelt planning to mitigate their effects in the budget and moving forward?
Well, we are going to be starting some stormwater planning as well. We have in there some, you'll see a design budget. So that's going to be supporting projects that we do in 2022 and onwards. So we do have we're upsizing a culvert where the Fairway Avenue, that the duck pond is up there. So that's getting upsized. Actually, today I drove around the district today, just looking for spots where we are having drainage issues, and it was pretty interesting. For the most part, the drainage system seemed to be doing pretty good, but in some locations, we actually ended up dislodging a blockage of a culvert and freeing up some flow as we were driving around the district today. So yeah, we're going to be doing, there's a lot of planning work that's required there. We have to do culvert inspections, prioritize our drainage system, and then come up with a drainage master plan. And so that would probably happen in 2023, 2024. It's a lot of planning work that needs for us to get to where we want to get to.
And just to add to that, I know I saw staff all around everywhere today, so they definitely had people on the ground. But I also want to point to page 78 of our budget. We also have good local knowledge coming from the community associations. I see that Shora identified a few of the problem areas that I saw today, back when they made this request, probably in September. So we are getting local knowledge from the community associations, which is really helpful. So I want to thank them for their participation in the budget.
Yeah, if anybody sees anything, any resident, they're always free to phone into the district and report issues, and we will document them, and where appropriate, issue service requests using our CityWorks application that we use to direct staff to the field. And today's been a very responsive day. I can't count the exact number of CityWorks requests that were issued today, but it had to be in the order of a dozen at least, if not more. So things are settling down out there, but we do have some culvert issues we have to deal with. We'll be going out and doing a lot of inspection work tomorrow to see what the aftermath of all this was.
Thank you for that. And another new hand, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Director Douglas actually sort of hinted at it there during his presentation, but the chemical storage infrastructure for the WRC, showing that debt servicing coming online for 2022. Do we have an estimated time when we're going to go out to tender or complete that project at this point?
Would you like me to take that one on, Director Douglas?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we've been waiting for the arrival of a new engineering project manager to advance the project. And so our new project manager is arriving next Monday, and it's one of the projects on their list. So ideally, given some time for getting up to speed and the holidays, I would hope that we would have something out to tender in early spring. And then construction, based on whether it's a prefabricated structure or not, it should be concluded by fall of 2022. And there's also been the idea floated that maybe there's some economies of scale if we utilize some of the work that's happening at the new operation center. There might be an interest from that contractor to construct this chemical storage building as well. So we're going to try and look for alignments there with other projects that are happening.
Thank you. Not seeing any other new questions coming in online through email or social media, but looks like Mayor Seegers has her hand up. Still up.
Yes,
There.
it's still up. I'm trying to put it down. You might have to put it down for me. It doesn't want to go down. Okay, thank you. I'm wondering if Director Dillon and Director Douglas could talk about the Wakefield lift station. We know that we didn't get the grant, and it's a project that we need to move forward. So it is in the budget. So I'd like you to describe what we're looking to do there. And the power just went back out again. It was on for all of 10 or 15 minutes.
Well, on the Wakefield lift station, I will report that we do have a backup generator there, so it will continue to work through any power outage, and it was actually utilized today. Wakefield lift station is a high top priority project in our sanitary collection system, and so the approach we've taken there is to fund what we can with what we have saved in capital reserves and gas tax funding that we have, and then the remainder will supplement from borrowing is the current strategy. Director Douglas, I don't know if you have that formula in a shareable format, but we do have a breakdown of what we're going to do there.
Yeah, I don't have it individually. I believe it's in the document. Yeah, it's going to be a split between development cost charges, borrowing, and I think there was one other funding source, a little bit of fees and charges. I'll look at it. I'll look for it as we're talking here.
I think what the community just wants to know is that the project will be moving forward. You know, we did some work to kind of limp it along, make sure it was still working, but we recognized that it needed to be replaced. We're hoping to get grant funding to do that, and we were not successful with the grant application. So it will be moving forward.
Yeah, so your worship,
Yes.
the budget we've set for that, for construction, engineering, and everything is 1.2 million. Previously, we were just above 900,000. Recognizing that everything has gone up in price, we've increased that to 1.2. And of that 1.2, we are anticipating just over 850,000 of that would be borrowed, with a large chunk coming from sewer DCCs, and then something coming from the gas tax reserve. Now, should there be a funding opportunity that arises in 2022, we could apply for that. And if we are successful in that funding, we would use that grant money to offset what we borrow. But as of now, our plan to go into it would be to borrow, just to give us that certainty that we are going to build this project and we are going to move ahead with it. But we'll also be on the eye for any opportunities for offsetting our borrowing.
Thank you, Director Dillon. Over to Councillor McLean.
All right, I'm going to throw a two-parter out. So part one is for Director Douglas. I guess both are, but the council is committed to providing a 3% tax increase for capital works every year. Is there a long-term objective for that program? Are we just going to keep on doing that indefinitely, or is there an end state that we're trying to get to?
So a number of years ago, when this was discussed with council, I think it was about 5 years ago, the idea there was to fund the equal amount of depreciation that we're depreciating assets by annually, with the idea that by the time we get up to over $2 million, our asset management plan would start to play a part in how much we actually need annually from the capital, cumulative capital number. So I think that's still the plan, is the first goal would be to fund our depreciation number. And yes, we're starting to work on capital assets planning, and you know, in another 3 to 4 years, we'll be getting a much better handle on what we need to have annually.
Okay, and that depreciation amount, if I'm reading the overall budget on page 148 correctly, it's $3.4 million.
Yes, that is a combination of both sewer and general, yes. So the 3% though does not go to sewer. The 3% is only for the general. So up on page, it's gonna take me a minute to get there. So up on page 20 of the budget book, the general operating amortization number is $2.1 million. And so that would be an initial target.
Okay, and then just trying to keep this eye on my bouncing ball of budgets. It is going to be $1.3 million this year.
Correct.
So we're getting there, but not quite there. Still a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings me to part two of the question. Just looking at the summary of the reserve balances on page 144, I'm showing that the 2022 budgeted transfer in for the capital reserve is 1.3 million, and the budgeted transfer out is 1.7 million. So we are drawing down our existing balance a little bit. Is there an overall strategy for that? Should we be trying to hit zero? Do we want to spend more now? Or do we want to try to be building up that reserve? Or is that a question for council to tackle?
Well, ideally, if we were at $2 million now, we would be building, right? We are underfunding our capital replacement still, and we will for a number of more years. So we as staff don't really expect that to grow much, but we definitely don't want to drain it every year. And so capital budgets are always go up and down, meaning you do more one year than another year. And so we're expecting it to grow some years and decline some years until we get to the point where we are fully funding the amount of that we need to fund.
If I may, I think that the philosophy on spending the capital reserve would probably come forward to council as part of an asset management policy, a corporate policy. There is a school of thinking in asset management is where if you're going to have a levy or a capital reserve built up for the purpose of reinvesting into your infrastructure, should try and use up the money to meet whatever your sustainable infrastructure investment plan is, to put back into your infrastructure to keep it up to a level of service that you need. So that is something I think some options need to come forward to council so that they can set the direction on how that should be spent. But I know that's how some municipalities approach that, is that whatever's put into, whatever's taken for infrastructure, a renewal from the tax base should go back into it. And so that the intent would not to be built to build up a big reserve there in that for that purpose.
Thank you. Over to Mayor Seegers.
Thank you. I got to blow my hand. Perfect. So right now, the number that we have as 2.1 is an accounting number. We don't actually know what the cost to replace our assets are, or how much we need to invest each year into maintaining the assets that we have. So one of the things that we have started on is building an asset management plan for the district. So we're in the preliminary stages of gathering the information. We have hired a staff member to, with the expertise in that area, to help us put that plan together, which will then inform how much we will need to gather from the community to put towards asset management, asset capital, capital replacement. So that's part of the plan. Lots of work to be done to get there.
Yes.
And with that, it looks like we have 3 minutes remaining in our public participation session this evening. So a final call for questions. I'll put it out to our attendee on the floor here, as well as any councillors who may have any final questions. Not seeing any on our social media channels, and nothing coming in through email still.
So as we wind it up, I would just like to invite any of the public to come out on November 30th and December 1st, either by Zoom or in person, to be part of the budget deliberations with me as a whole. And yeah, it'll be a good two-day stretch for everybody.
Yep, those will also be live streamed to YouTube both days, the full days, minus the recesses that we'll need to take for lunch breaks and things like that. And questions are always welcome to council@cshelt or finance@cshelt.ca. Councillor McLean, did you have one more comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that comment about emailing us. We always welcome the public's feedback. And if you send an email to council@cshelt.ca, it comes to all of us. If I see it, I'll do the best to make sure that there's a response, or I ask that question at the budget meeting. So emails work great in my mind. So send them on.
Thank you again, everyone, for attending this evening, and for those that are viewing us on YouTube later once you have your power back on. Wish everyone a good night.